Hello, Cristiano. Episode 4. What is up, my man?
Good evening. Nothing very much is going on. I am working from home for another 2 weeks now because I gave my school a little COVID scare, so that's great. So I have even more time to watch LCS and come on DoubleBuffs.
Well, I've been pretty busy the last week, I must say, so, I'm a little out of touch a teeny bit. But there were some good games last week, not too many upsets in general, I'd say. Like, a lot of the games kind of went according to plan.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the top teams were taking games off each other, which was nice.
Yeah, I feel like especially the trajectory we sort of painted from last week was followed pretty closely, where we predicted good things for TSM. EG was looking a little shaky, stuff like that. I feel like most of our predictions panned out.
Yep. I mean, Dig and TSM played. We were talking about that as a game to watch last week, and we both said TSM. We thought their momentum was gonna kind of change things, but Lost got banned out on Kaisa, I believe, and he's played a lot of Kaisa recently, and he didn't look too good on some of his other champs. But there was also a couple wonky picks that game, so
Yeah, that Dignitas game. I really, like you said, I really expected TSM to be able to take it. They've been looking so strong, and Dignitas. I remember you were saying last week you viewed them as a little bit of a fake good team, and honestly, after a little bit of consideration, I'm kind of on board with that. After seeing them lose to, who did they lose to that first day?
I mean, Dig. I think Dig's actually kind of cementing themselves as a decent team now. Dardoch, he played J4 as his another new champ, and he played Skarner. He doubled up on the Kane game, which he lost. But his Skarner game against TSM, they really could not puncture through Skarner, and then as the game progressed, Skarner just kept getting picks. It didn't matter if it was on the support or whoever. TSM just didn't really have an answer for that.
I want you to know I appreciate the pun that you said they couldn't puncture Skarner. I don't know if that was on purpose, but
No, it wasn't.
Bravo.
Bravo.
Yeah, Dardoch is really proving himself to be a solid team captain of this young Dignitas team, and I'm excited to see them play like more top tier teams because I feel like they've been taking a lot of wins off lower tier teams. I want to see them win against the TLs, the Cloud9s, which right now they seem.
I mean, didn't they play last week?
Yep,
Dig played against someone last week that they lost to.
Yeah, they played against Cloud9, who, to be fair, number 1 seed in the league. So it's going to be a tough matchup. But
Huni also pulled out the Lulu top, which was a cool pick, and he didn't even play that bad. They just, they couldn't really get around that Skarner pick, and when that happened, and when Skarner just is unkillable and he's picking off one person every fight, and you don't have the DPS to punch through, the game's kind of going south.
Yeah, and still be able to deal with the rest of the team. Because there's that threat of the Azir on the back line and Callista hopping all around. It's no small...
In the day before, they Dig lost to Cloud9, but the day before that, CLG and Cloud9 had a pretty good game, actually. CLG looked like they had a real chance. Wild Turtle had a pentakill. Give it up to Wild Turtle.
Woo! This CLG team, man.
Well, Finn also had Aatrox, and he looked really good on Aatrox that game.
Finn has been looking good on Aatrox like every game he gets it, but there's something in the water at the CLG complex. Someone's put a curse on their water well, and they're sipping it every day because they can't seem to win, or they can't seem to close out these games where they get so ahead. It happens every week.
But they also Broxa just got back. I feel really bad for Broxa because this same time last year, he also had visa issues. He couldn't get here early enough, and by the time he got here, Team Liquid was imploded. They had made 4 back-to-back NA LCS finals, which they won, I believe, all of them. And then he got here, and the team was like already out of the playoff picture. DoubleBuffs was beefing with people, and now the same cycle is reoccurring itself.
DoubleBuffs beefing. He's not able to get here. he didn't do too bad this weekend. I didn't think he had 2 Graves performances where he did all right. He had a 3-3 Graves performance and a 2-1 Graves performance, and then he sort of fed in his.
But this team's also kind of like almost in their first week of play, so it's kind of difficult when all these other teams have had the lock-in tournament in a few weeks to play with their imports. So I was pretty excited about CLG in that game, but then they lost 2 other games, so
yeah,
maybe they'll turn it around next split.
Because there are parts that look good. I think Finn looks solid, and I think Wild Turtle looks like he's super on form this split, but they just can't seem to make it happen. Wild Turtle, for some reason, or there is a reason. The reason that I have Wild Turtle stuck in my head as washed up is because I feel like he had a couple splits there before he was on Flyquest, where he really was not looking so great. But ever since he was on Flyquest the past year or two, he's been looking lovely.
Yeah, he was kind of Flyquest's franchise player in a way. Before that, there was that split that DoubleBuffs had been playing a while, and he took the split off. TSM, this was the spring split. TSM got Wild Turtle over DoubleBuffs, and after that, they dropped Wild Turtle. He hadn't looked good on most of his teams, but he's been in the league for a long time. He's one of those vets that just keeps coming back to the top. And Sneaky, it was similar with Sneaky, except he wasn't willing to play for a worse org. But Wild Turtle, took that chance on Flyquest, and he made the most of it. But now he's back on a bad team.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of been popping off. He did have 1-0-5 Samira game this weekend, which, what can you do? I mean, Samira, if you're diving in as Samira and you're not ahead, it's not going to look great. A 4-4 Samira game, and I think he popped off on Zaya another game, like 8-5.
Yeah, that was the game against C9.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So he's been looking on form, but there's something, I don't know if it's their mid laner. Maybe Pole Belter would be a better fit or like a more solid fit, but the tragic tale of CLG, man. My heart goes out to them.
And then some other games that happened last weekend. Liquid lost to EG. They're currently tied in the standings for like 5th, 6th. And then the next day, Liquid beat the top seed team, Cloud9. Those were interesting games.
Yeah.
In the overall picture.
So as far as Liquid and EG goes, I'm honestly really surprised that Evil Geniuses took this game because, like I started talking about last week, so this might be one of the things that didn't quite pan out the way at least I was thinking. Evil Geniuses seem to be on a big downward slide, and I honestly didn't think they were going to recover. But they picked up 2 wins this weekend against, like you said, Team Liquid, one of them, which is a pretty mighty contender. And CLG. And then they lost to TSM, who is showing themselves to be maybe even a contender for first place. I really can't wait for this next Cloud9 versus TSM game, whenever that's coming up. I don't think we have it next week.
Yeah, we don't.
But whenever that comes, those have been looking like potentially the 2 strongest teams, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I was watching a couple Golden Guardians games this past week too, and I have to say Niles looks horrible. He does not look really good at all. He's doing fudge level lock-in tournament mistakes when he's supposed to be the main carry on this team.
Did you were you watching like the live or the casters on the Pantheon top game?
Where they just like kind of pooping on him?
Azael was roasting. He called him a troll at one point. I was a little bit shocked that they went in so hard. But yeah, man, Niles has been looking. Oh, he makes me want to throw open my mouth a little bit because
his awareness is really off. He's pushing when like his team isn't around, when he doesn't know where the other players are.
It's so bad.
Yeah, like sorry. I see these mistakes in my Diamond Q games, and like I'll get angry at them. And I'm Diamond. I'm flaming people.
You could be flaming Niles, and it wouldn't be out of place. But yeah, when Azael said he was like, you're trolling, I remember the enemy Hecarim was topside clearing one of his wards, like in his river bush, right around there. And Niles walks up as he's clearing this ward. Camille engages on him, and they blow his flash, and they come back and they kill him later. It's absolutely nuts that he's playing like this. And I don't know. Golden Guardians is all about improving their like rookie talent this year. But at what point, man, do you say this rookie talent maybe is not worth investing in and find someone else?
Yeah, I think they're kicking themselves in the shins right now. One comp that I thought was really, really cool was, or one game that I thought was really good, I would recommend to go rewatch it for anyone that hasn't seen it, was the Dignitas versus Flyquest game. Fly kind of had an advantage, and then Dig just kept hitting them with so many massive wombo combos. They had Ali, J4, Seraphine, Azir, and Gnar. And there were so many Azir shuffles, long range, Seraphine ults, Gnar ults, Ali and J4 following up or initiating these fights. I thought that was a really fun game to watch for me personally. And another game I wanted to touch up on was FlyQuest comps versus Golden Guardians. They played Shen, Senna, Tom Kench, Senna and Tom Kench in the bot lane. They had Lilia jungle, Yone mid, and Shen top. And I saw a few Yone games this past weekend. Jizuke looked really good on Yone. I think Lilia Yone is one of the premier combos going forward. When you can surround two high damage, one AD, one AP threats with a Shen, a Senna, and a Tom, that's a really dangerous comp, especially if Yone and Lilia is getting ahead in the early game.
Yeah, I really like the global pressure that you have with that comp, with the Shen, obviously, and then the Senna ult, and then you can even have Tom Kench transporting somebody else in who maybe doesn't have a global, maybe the Ionian, and all of a sudden you have influence from, quick math, Shen, you can have influence from 4 people in one spot just instantly.
Yeah.
That seems pretty strong, especially we have this dive meta going on. We talked a little bit about last week. Yeah.
Another pick that we talked about last week, you asked me, do I think Rek'Sai is a good pick? I'm not sure, but Blabber looked good on him again. Blabber is, in my mind, the clear MVP thus far. He's just played so well. Maybe there's an argument for Dardoch, but, I'm saying a lot. I should probably fix that. But Blabber has looked really good. I was listening to the dive earlier today, and they were saying Blabber is the Batman of this team right now.
I wonder who Robin would be. Maybe I think Perks might be Robin in that case.
GameStop.
GameStop?
Yeah, that's the Robin Hood story of the week.
There you go.
Oh, I sold out of my GameStop share like 3 days ago. I'm so upset. Yeah, I sold out. I was like, I want CCIV because it was at a low. And then the next day it spikes back up to $150. Just my luck.
Yeah, my GameStop spiked up there?
Yeah, it spiked all the way to 150. Do you still have your share?
No, I sold it long ago. I could have made a clean $20 on that baby today. Anyway. Yeah.
Next week, we got TL versus TSM on Friday, which seems like a good game. We also have C9 versus EG on Saturday, Dig versus 100T on Saturday, and 100T versus C9 with a rematch on Sunday. Which of these games kind of interest you? Do you have any takeaways?
Yeah, so I think how do you want to tackle this? Let's just start on Friday. I think TL versus TSM is significant. After we saw Team Liquid beating down C9 this weekend, they sort of showed that they still had signs of life. They stopped that downward slide that they were showing, that they were sort of having. And considering Cloud9 right now is looking at least like
wait, which game are we talking about?
I'm talking about next week, Team Liquid versus TSM.
Oh, you said Cloud9, or did you mean to say
Oh,
that?
yeah, I meant sorry. Team Liquid beat Cloud9 this past weekend, and so I was saying it's showing that they still have this spark of life inside of them that shows that they can beat these top teams and maybe contend for that place themselves. And that is significant when they're playing TSM because TSM is one of these up and coming teams, I think. And seeing if they can clash and if Team Liquid can hold their own, it would be really promising for Team Liquid, I think.
Yeah, the other week when they had a really down week, they were kind of playing a lot of Quinn, Kennen, random stuff, and I was just like, give Alfari back to the basics. He whipped out a couple Camille games, maybe 3 Camille games. He looked good on all of them, and I think going back to their roots is pretty good. Maybe they were expanding a little bit, testing the water since it was still early in the season. Meanwhile, It feels like to me TSM is showing their main game plan in all of these weeks. They're trying their hardest, and when it progresses to further in the season and come playoffs, maybe Team Liquid experimenting earlier in the season is going to give them a better advantage going into best of fives. Meanwhile, TSM kind of has one play style that might be working, but what else can they play when Kai'Sa's banned, Pantheon's banned, Nar's banned? Then they just have PoE and hope he carries. Doesn't seem like a great strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially Huni, I've done almost a 180 on, where I don't know if you listen to some of the earlier episodes, I flame him a little bit, but for stealing paychecks. But I think he's really turned it around. I was watching, especially you were saying his Gnar, you're worried it could get banned out against him, and that's a valid worry because he's tearing it up on this Gnar. But I remember specifically this team fight, he comes in from the top as Mega Gnar around Baron, and he just Bish Bash Bosh gets a clean triple kill. And you can't see, but I'm rubbing them off if I was dusting them off.
One of Huni's signature champs is that I would like to see him go back to is Rumble. But the issue with Rumble is PoE only plays mages in the mid lane, and then you kind of have too much AP damage.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Oh, man. I wonder what PoE could pick up.
He tried out the Lucian in the locked-in tournament. He looked all right. There was a few I was watching DoubleBuffs co-stream of that game. He's pointing out things he could do better. But clearly it's not his main champion. But, maybe if he could pick up a Yone, that'd be really huge for this roster.
Yeah, that's a really interesting angle to pick up how PoE's sort of limited champion pool, or what we perceive as limited, could sort of drag on his teammates if there's picks that would be strong for them. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think if we could maybe see some of these, or like an AD look in the mid lane, it also opens up the Lilia more easily, that Yone Lilia you were talking about.
Yeah, PoE has been this player that always plays mages, to a really good level, whether or not it's a mage meta. He's really good at, telling his teammates how to play around him. But he knows his strengths, which is really valuable in a player, to know your strengths and play towards them. But when you want to be the best of the best, sometimes you need a little bit more than that, Sometimes you need to play Zed or Yasuo.
Sometimes, yeah. What are the viable AD mid picks right now? You have Yone. Do you really think Zed and Yasuo are viable, or are those just first?
No, but Yasuo is very viable in my solo queue games. I can tell you that much.
That's true. But like Yone mid is seemingly one of the only AD picks people want to go for. Oh, and Lucian. Tristana also. He could look good on a Tristana. I feel like he could flex that around. It's sort of the pushing play style.
It seems kind of like a perfect champ for him, to be honest. When you compare him to someone like Azir, where there's a lot of clicking around and autoing, and then you have like a pushback with the Shurima Shuffle. You can do that on Tristana too.
Long range.
Maybe that's a look he goes.
Oh,
and it's ranged.
Yeah, I'm amping myself up now. I want to see him pick up Tristana all of a sudden. So yeah, hopefully keep an eye out on that.
Oh.
If you see him pick Tristana, then you heard it here first.
Perks looked really, really good on Tristana last week. I forget which games, maybe it was the CLG game, but he was just popping off. He was going in, getting kills, getting out, taking over, absolute ravaged them.
Yeah, it was that it was the Dignitas game. They absolutely
Dignitas.
He went 14, 2, and 3 on that Tristana. Oh, good golly. That's an F. Yeah.
Is there any kind of a shorter episode so far? I mean, like I said, I didn't watch too much last week, but I had some takeaways. Is there any direction you want to take this conversation? Any things you want to touch up on?
Yeah, there's a couple more matches. I'll talk about one match on Saturday and then maybe one on Sunday. I mean, no harm in having a shorter episode.
Yeah.
So what I'm really looking forward to is Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves, Dignitas versus 100 Thieves. I don't know, maybe I'm hopping on the bandwagon, but all these teams coming up that were kind of considered middle of the pack has really got me excited about LCS as a whole and like the competitiveness. It's looking a lot closer than I was thinking initially. I thought the top players were pretty much decided, and I've been proven wrong. But so Dignitas versus 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves is one of those teams that we sort of perceived to be at the very top, and now they dropped 2 games this weekend, or just one. Point being, they're 6-3 now, up from 6-2. So, and they're joined by Dignitas at 6-3. So this is a there's a 3-way tie for second place right now between Dignitas, TSM, and 100 Thieves. So this 100 Thieves versus Dignitas game could very well sort of separate the standings a little bit more. They're very compressed right now. Yeah. And I'd like to see. I really just can't wait to see where these standings shake out. So
it's a good challenge for Dignitas. And I think DeMonte, I was really excited about him going into the season. And he's looked pretty decent so far, but he hasn't. I don't know if we'll ever be able to take his play to the next level like some of the other mid laners. He seems like he's always going to have good awareness and pretty good mechanics, but I don't know if he'll ever be in that MVP conversation that maybe Jensen or Bjergsen or their bot lane like FBI and who he will be in.
Yeah, well, I think you're right on the money there. I think that he has shown that his control mage play, besides Syndra, is not really up to where it needs to be winning these key games. And he's always sort of been that player ever since he sort of gained a following on Clutch, who he was playing like sort of weird roaming champs like Kiana, or he would have pocket pick counters to like common meta matchups that he could like sort of squeeze on by. I remember Rumble was a big one. And it looked almost in the lock-in tournament, I wanted to believe that he had leveled up with his sort of standard play. But I am worried that he's just profiting off a meta where Galio and TF are so powerful that it might be inflating his skill a little bit.
Because you think if he had leveled up his game, this team would just be undefeated almost. But they've had some close wins and a lot of close games. Their bot lane, FBI and Huhi, probably the best bot lane in the league. It's a game-to-game basis, but across the whole season with a lot of sample sizes, so far they look the strongest. Some days looked really good. Closer's been pretty good. So if DeMonte is this for sure, this player that's firing on all cylinders, this team should be, who knows, to the moon.
To the moon. Tell me this, Greg. Has Dignitas had Asta as their ADC every week? Because I feel like I've never heard that name before, and now I'm looking at.
Well, they've had Neo. I don't know if that's his first name, if that's his real name.
Yeah. They did have Neo, but
yeah, he hasn't really made too much waves, but I haven't seen him feeding at all.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just looking somewhere that said their ADC was Asta, which is not how I remember.
Weren't you saying Fake God looked kind of good?
Yeah, I was talking about Fake God. I remember back on a couple splits ago, he was in main LCS, and he's been grinding it out in Academy for a little bit. I thought he initially looked good in LCS, so I was a little sad that he was relegated to Academy. But seeing him come back and now he's having this sort of resurgence on Dignitas, where he's like having pretty good games on stuff like the NAR. Against TSM, for example, he
looks good on NAR.
People are really. I'm not sure if overall everyone's getting the hang of NAR, because remember at the beginning of our podcast, I hated on NAR so much. I thought it looked so useless. But, now I'm seeing a lot of really good NAR play, and I'm really liking it. But yeah, he went 6-1-9 on NAR against TSM. For example,
NAR in China has always kind of been in that meta. They seem like they have a really good grasp of it, and it's a good sign that teams in the league are kind of understanding how to play around his rage bar on both a micro and a macro sense. They're teleporting in at better times, for example. So that's good.
Yeah, and I believe I was just gonna say I believe Fake God is native NA talent.
He has a cool name too, Fake God.
Yeah,
it's like a pretty lit name.
Yeah, love to see it.
Another game that's happening on that day is C9 versus Evil Geniuses. I think standing wise, this is an important game to see if EG can play with the best of the best, because they're kind of looking like they're stagnating a little bit, like you said. And if they want to make that resurgence towards the top echelon of the top teams, I think this is a very important game for them.
Yeah, I think it's really reminiscent of last split, where Evil Geniuses, the season started and it looked like they might start making waves in the LCS, and then they sort of, like you said, stagnated out to like a middle of the pack team, and I'm nervous that it's happening again. It's sort of what it's looking like.
Yeah, it almost feels like they're about to replace Jizuke with Golden Glue and then bring up Huni from Academy again, some type of move like that.
Yeah, I mean, so they technically still have a winning record, but I was watching their games again, and this weekend, oh man, I wanted Jizuke to step up so bad, and he just continued feeding. Even on that ride,
like they don't have like a clear direction as a team. It feels like.
I know, and it didn't feel like that initially. It felt like they had a super powerful bot lane. Impact was sort of that top lane rock, but they were paying more attention to him than they did on Team Liquid. You know, they were TPing to help him out. They were collapsing when he got collapsed on. And it was looking really good, but like honestly, I think it's a lot of it is Jizuke. It just doesn't seem to have the chops in the mid lane.
He did look really good on Yone, though, I will say. But meanwhile, on the other side, we have Cloud9. I think Cloud9's going to win this game.
I gotta say,
pretty easily.
It's funny because EG beat them the first time they played. And so hopefully they can show that again. But when they beat them, it was a bit of an upset. And EG aren't exactly on an upswing right now. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. Debatably, a closer game would be Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves, which is happening on next Sunday. We talked about this game last episode or 2 episodes ago. The way the game went was Perks on TF really decimated Demonte on Galio. Meanwhile, there was a set in the bot lane by Huhi, and they were diving Sven and Vulcan a lot, and the 100 Thieves was snowballing that way. So maybe this game is similar. Maybe it's completely different. Maybe we see more of a top lane oriented game. But I think this is a very important game going forwards as well.
I think 100 Thieves can maybe. Actually, I'm thinking about it now. 100 Thieves, I feel like, win through top side with Someday versus Fudge. But then also their bot lane has been looking really good, like you said. So I might even give them the bot lane matchup, depending on the draft, obviously. And then I think Perks is probably better than Demonte. So I think 100 Thieves really has like the tools that they need to take this one home. I think it's going to depend, obviously, a lot on the jungle matchup. You were saying you think Blabber is the MVP. I'm inclined to agree with you. But Closer's one of the other junglers who is held in like maybe the top 3 or 4 in the league right now. So that's a very...
But like you said, 100T can go through their top lane. It seems like there's a lot of different avenue this one singular game could take, which I think is a sign of a better team or better teams, EG when they're playing, it's kind of like, is Jizuke going to feed? And then are they just going to scramble for some ARAM fights and win? Meanwhile, these guys are like, who's going to play through what lane? For example, it's kind of a sign that they're maybe in an upper echelon than EG.
Yeah. One other thing I'm wondering is, so that the jungle changes went through last week, right?
No, I don't. I think the Samira nerf and the excess jungle XP changes are going through this upcoming week.
So are the pros going to be playing on 11.4?
The jungle camp XP will be nerfed this week, and so will Samira.
That's a whole nother angle. Oh my goodness, I think that's really going to shake up the jungle meta, obviously. But it's always interesting to see how the bot lane meta changes between ADCs when like one of the big ones gets nerfed, and maybe it opens a spot for a different ADC to show their face. Right now, I think we're definitely going to see more Tristana in the ADC position as time goes on.
There's a flex too.
Yeah, it's a super powerful flex. It's so good. I played a little bit of it in solo queue the other day, and I fed to holy hell in the first 15 minutes. But I actually managed to turn it around just because I feel like it's such a strong scaling pick. But
Samira was kind of already on her way out.
A little bit, yeah.
In my mind. But I think this jungle this Samira nerf is just going to completely push her out of the picture. And one thing that maybe comes up this week is a Taric Yi, mid lane farm game. I think funneling is now a real option with these junglers who their XP camps are giving less experience and less gold. So if you can just kind of focus on the scuttles, focus on taking turrets, focus on funneling farm into these carry junglers, while the other team can't do that, the other jungler might get behind while you skyrocket your jungler ahead in just a different way.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I had forgotten about this. I've been reading about it a little bit, but first of all, I saw Taric Yi in my game today for the first time all season.
Really?
And it was a swift dodge by someone else on my team. So it looks like Funnel's coming back, baby. Riot tries whatever they can do to keep it down, but it never stays down. But there's this problem that some of the prominent people in like the NA and EU esports scene have been talking about, where if a jungler eats two mid waves, or not necessarily.
Yeah, I heard that a little bit.
Yeah, they end up being permanently like 2 levels ahead of everybody else in the game.
Yeah, the concept was like this jungler had the opportunity of solo killing the enemy mid laner, and he just couldn't because the enemy's jungler would come to mid lane and eat up like 3 waves of farm and then just be 2 levels ahead of everyone else in the game.
Yeah. And oh my god, man, that sounds like a living nightmare for me. If I'm playing jungle and these are the situations that are happening and I feel like I'm playing well and getting ganks off and then it's detrimental, I honestly think Riot needs to take a look at what the situation they've created here, because that does not sound fun for the players.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how they'd fix that, to be honest.
There's so many weird rules around XP now, I feel like. There's like a whole
Bot lane's been getting less for a bit.
Yeah. But
top lane turret has like extra platings on it, so they could remove lane swaps.
These layers and layers of weird rules that they've implemented to stop niche strategies.
Yeah, the layers, and they kind of build up into sedimentary layers to make a big problem that's difficult to carve and chip away at.
Riot loves their spaghetti, right?
One thing, I've been playing solo queue recently, and I recently swapped my Shaco build. I've been playing more AD recently. I think Kraken Slayer is by far and away the best AD item for any assassin or anyone that's planning on building that or Gale Force or Mortal Shield Bow. I think Kraken Slayer champions that can abuse that item specifically, it's the one that has 3 auto attacks, so your third passive procs extra damage, is really good. I've been playing that with Blade of the Ruined King and some Lifesteal runes on Shaco, and I'm just like a super anti, like this life regen tank And I think champs that can abuse those two items together might see a surge in the future. Maybe we see some Viego this week.
Ooh, yeah, true. Viego is quickly becoming one of my least favorite champions to face.
Oh, they're also planning on nerfing Stridebreaker soon, which could make some waves.
That's kind of
yeah.
I don't feel like it was that overpowered. I felt like it was in a really good spot after Gore Drinker got nerfed.
I mean, I think they're just trying to even out the jungle items. It seems like a lot of the meta ones in the LCS are either Lilia or they're building like Stridebreaker.
Yeah, you have Stridebreaker, Gore Drinker. Is there one more of those active?
No, I think those are the two.
Yeah. I was gonna say, but I feel like they were in a good spot, so that is a little disappointing to hear.
One of the reasons why they're kind of maybe a bit above other things is because that whip that your item path goes into helps with clearing. Yeah, Iron Spike. It helps your clear speed a lot because it's like a 15-second cooldown. So maybe they're trying to like table that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, as far as the jungle meta for next week, we're already starting to see Jarvan, which I've been expecting.
Good call out.
Yeah, those jungle nerfs. And Skarner. I honestly don't like Skarner metas. They're just boring, I feel like. But that's just me.
I think Skarner is gonna, especially when there's a cloud soul. You know, cloud soul is normally terrible, but if you have a Skarner, then basically any soul's good, because if you can speed up super fast in any like portion of the jungle and then just get an ultimate off, it's like you almost want to see cloud souls.
True. Maybe you can start sticking Skarner in your comp as insurance, just in case you get Cloud Soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. But yeah, I think a lot of these ganking sort of utility junglers are going to be coming back. I've been saying it for a while now, so we'll see that next week. If my money, or I'll put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be gank junglers or ones that can really abuse funneling tactics in some capacity. Like I think maybe like a Yi type of champion. I don't know who that would be.
Do you think Viego?
But I think we could. Yeah, Viego for sure.
That seems.
I think we're gonna see some Viego.
I really hope so, because he's just. Oh man, he's such an overloaded champ. I'm sure he'd be really fun to watch a pro player.
Man, I wish Shaco was viable in pro play, because recently it's been very easy for me to carry with this Kraken Slayer build. You know, it doesn't really carry over to the pros because you need to set up multiple boxes in the early game to really get his advantage going. His advantage is early ganks. So when the other team is so good at invading, they can kind of just neglect his early pressure, and then it turns off a lot of the things he's good at.
I have a question about Shaco. Does your clone proc Kraken Slayer?
Yeah, two awesome things about this is his clone procs Kraken Slayer, and you know that rune in the domination tree that gives you 3 fast auto attacks?
Hail of Blades, right?
Yeah. Hail of Blades. So let's say you're Shaco, right? I'm Shaco. I go and auto one of the opponent players, and then I click ultimate while I have Kraken Slayer. That 3 auto proc on my clone does not go away. So he attacks like so damn fast.
So you have to only if you attack first, though, you're saying?
Yeah, if you activate your clone while you have that buff up, all of his attacks for the clone's duration will have that buff.
Wait.
It's like yeah.
No way. So you're saying it's not just 3. He just attacks super fast?
Yeah, it's permanent. So with Kraken Slayer and like a Blade of the Ruined King, you can melt tanks. You can Dude, I've been soloing Barons like with 2.5 items.
All right, everyone, you heard it here. Try this out in your solo queue games. First time Shaco, build Kraken Slayer into Bork, and try to solo Baron at 20 minutes, and then report.
No, don't do that. Shaco's still trash. I'm a one trick.
Damn. Yeah, I've been playing. So I've been jungling, which is why I've been so in tune with these jungle changes. But in light of these jungle changes, jungle is just not fun for me anymore. I hate to say it. And I've role swapped to the most powerful position in the game, the mid lane, where now when I int, it actually loses I've been playing Victor, which has been a good time. Back when, do you remember like Bruiser Victor Top was a thing?
Yeah, for like at Worlds.
Yeah, it was like the unbeatable pick or something. I picked it up then too, and ever since I've had a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for Victor. So I'm playing in mid lane, but I'm definitely higher elo than I was at the time. So I find myself getting absolutely rolled by Fizz, Talon, Diana. If I'm picking Victor and they pick one of those three things, I'm immediately crying.
What kind of draws you to the jungle or the mid? Is it the overall strength? Do you enjoy CSing? Do you enjoy the 1v1? Do you enjoy the global impact? What makes you play like where?
So I won't lie to you. I first played jungle because I'm really bad at CSing and I'm really bad at dying in lane. So like if I die in lane, I'm the type who's gonna keep dying in lane.
You're gonna keep trying to fight and
I keep trying to. I think in my head, all right, I gotta get an advantage now. I really gotta get ahead. I gotta outplay him, and then I feed.
The one thing that I cannot do in lane is like if the enemy has like a good position on me and I have to forfeit like an entire wave of CS, I do not have the mental fortitude to not just go up and try to get the cannon and then just die.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that too. So jungle was a way for me, and I also liked that global impact you mentioned. I liked being this sort of like guerrilla soldier popping out of the jungle, and I don't know, it was a very appealing fantasy to me. But what I don't like being is multiple levels behind on everybody else in the game, so it's not that appealing. Mid lane, I think, is just a super powerful role, and when I feel like my skill, for people who can't see, my skill, I'm doing like a wave.
Oscillating.
Yeah. There are times when I'm really hot. I'm really on it. And if I play mid in those times, I'm going to carry that game. I'm going to be 15-2, plowing. The game is in my grasp. So that's really the fantasy I'm after. That's why I'm playing mid. And then there are other times where my whole team flames me. But
you're a feast or famine type of player.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good way to put it. Feast or famine, baby.
Mason puts it in a way that you just troll him every time you guys do a queue.
I mean, it's possible. I do a lot of trolling, especially when I do a queue. Our friend is significantly higher rank than I, so it boosts that.
This past week, one more thing about the jungle changes that could carry over to the LCS is scuttle value has gone up a lot. So whenever there's a game where two junglers are starting on the same side, expect some fireworks to happen at the scuttles because they have a really big impact on the game now. They haven't gotten nerfs, and they give you vision, you know.
Oh, so you're saying just comparatively to like, since they stayed the same, their value has...
Yeah, it's gone
technically risen. Yeah, agreed.
Because if you get this, and especially if there's a fight, the jungler that manages to get the scuttle is going to have such an advantage.
Yeah, so make sure you have that chat with your bot lane or your top lane or your mid lane before scuttles spawn. Tell them they must be pushing those lanes and they got to be there, because otherwise you're going to cry.
Yeah, ping request like 30 times like I do every solo queue game.
Do it a minute and a half in advance.
What I've been doing is I do my clear, I try to get one scuttle, and if I get it, I immediately run to the other scuttle. I try to double scuttle. Yeah, and it's been working out really well for me.
Yeah, do you go straight through mid lane, or do you...
Yeah, I'll even go right through the wave and let them know what I'm doing. But I'm pinging the entire time for the bot lane to come and help me. If my bot lane's not pushing, then I might not make that decision.
Yeah, and when I was jungling, it took me so long to get the concept that if you take one of these farming junglers and do like a full clear, then you can do it by the time scuttle starts, and you'll be level 4. And if the enemy jungler didn't do the same, they're going to be level 3. You're going to get that first scuttle crab, and then you're also going to get that second scuttle crab. So that was a really nice.
That's one of the strengths of Shaco right now. Is he has the fastest level 1 clear in the game. Really? After that, he falls off like a mountain, but you can always get to the scuttle first at level 4. So that's why. Yeah. So this new change helps him a lot. I don't know about other champs. Udyr too is going to be really strong.
I mean, Udyr's looking like a couple of chicken drumsticks on clogs. He's looking delicious.
I'm not sure how Lily is going to be impacted by this. She
Yeah,
seems
I feel like she
restless.
could fall off for sure. I was playing a little bit of Lilia, and she's just really dependent on those levels and items. It feels like, which is exactly what's getting nerfed.
So we were looking at a shorter episode, but somehow we made it to 45 minutes.
So now we babbled and rambled on, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's all for me. I hope everyone enjoyed this.
Yeah, I was about to ask, got anything else? But sounds like no.
I just need a pee.
Twice.
I'm ready to close this up.
I'll let the listeners know.
I've drank so much water
before
today.
the episode too. Oh my god. Okay.
Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated, everyone out there.
Stay thirsty.
Dangerous world. All right. So you go pee. I'm gonna go pick Victor mid lane. Hopefully not make my teammates too sad. And you all should pick Shaco. That's all I got.
DoubleBuffs, episode 4.